My name is Alicia, but I prefer to be called Honor. Knowledge of Cellf is here to be able to help inspire and motivate us to do inner works as well as help us to become aware of ourselves. That all is one in a reflection of the one mind. Now this is going to be interpreted and articulated by me, but this was inspired by someone named Eligio Bishop, also known as Nature Boy. You cannot attract certain things in your life if you're not vibrating on that certain frequency. Before I was attracted to Nature Boy online, I was searching for my purpose. I had an inkling of what it was. I always have ambition. I'm always doing things. I'm always bringing people together. You know, I'm on my path, but it's not clicking. I had a vision, but it was something missing. Though I dropped out of 9th grade, I have been a rebellion against this system for a while and the way that it's operating. Though I'm not fully against it, I was just like, ooh, that can be better. Like, ooh, why are we learning this? Like, what's more? I did not like history in school. But as I got older, I was introduced to history more and I was able to study on my own. See, I dropped out of 9th grade, but I went to a secondary school that allowed me to study on my own, get credits on my own. So I was able to get credits above the grade that the students was in that was in my grade. Like they were in 9th grade. I was getting 10th and 11th grade credits because I was able to work on my own terms. I rebelled against jobs as well. I started to hustle and do my own thing. I always like thinking outside the box. And if I have a belief or an idea, I am not a part of the sheep. I can see 100 people agree, but if I do not agree, I will stand up for what I don't agree on, even if I have to stand against 100 people. That's how my mind works. So before I came across Nature Boy's videos, I was studying history. I was studying religion, many different religions, because I always questioned the church. I always questioned Christianity. And at that time, many people would knock on my door, pastors and, people from the church wanting to speak from different churches. And I would talk to them, ask them questions until they couldn't answer. So I questioned, what's really going on? Is God real? I explained that to explain, if you ask, you will receive. If you're in a situation that you feel should be better, begin to give your energy to that, and you will vibrate to another situation. Although many of the teachings that Nature Boy taught was online, it wasn't articulated in the way that attracted me. His articulation, his aura attracted me, and I was able to learn from him. Yes, nobody created melanin. Melanin just is. But people articulate it and interpret it from their own perspective. Some people are in the lab right now articulating and interpreting things, but they're not putting it out to the world. This man put it out to the world and his belief systems. Not everyone has that energy. They can stand on what they believe is true and speak it to the world. He does. And I'm very, very grateful. I just want to say this. I'm very, very grateful for the awareness and understanding. I understand all the controversy, but I'm still grateful. And no one can take that away. No one. So some of the first things that I heard from Nature Boy that really sparked me and drew me in was, one, I love myself. They were saying I love myself. And when you hear that, you like, dang, I love myself. When have you ever said that to yourself? When have you ever spoke to yourself in that type of manner? You're always expecting someone else to say that to you. So I felt like, wow, I can give love to myself. SELF. Now, why it says knowledge of self with CELLF is what they really meant by I love myself. So they explain, when I say I love myself, I mean I love you. I love all. I love the reflection of oneness. And he explains love is understanding. When I heard that, I'm like, wow, let me get to understand the reflection of me. Because everything is a reflection of your mind. How you look at something is a reflection of how you perceive it. So me and you both can look at the same thing, but perceive something differently. It's coming from your mind. Though it's a thing, it's still perceived from your mind. So you interact with it, you exchange with it, how you perceive it. The next thing that I love to this day is keep a healthy perspective. This helps me to do so much inner work over the last couple years. This helps with inner works. This helps with when you feel low, when you have anger, resentment, misplaced emotions. If you can find a healthy perspective on this, you can change your life. If you can change your perspective on certain things, see it from a different angle, you can literally change your life. It's a beautiful thing. Keep a healthy perspective. Sometimes we're having unhealthy perspectives that do not serve us, that do not serve a higher good. Your reality, how you see the world, is ruled by your perspectives. So make sure you keep a healthy perspective amongst all things. So if you're engaging in things and you're feeling down, you must have an unhealthy perspective. You need to raise that vibration, raise that frequency. And frequency is the thoughts that you have frequently. So if you're in an environment that you do not like, if you're working a job that you do not like, raise your frequency. Imagine yourself have thoughts, being somewhere that you do like, and watch yourself vibrate up out of there. Imagine that. Use your thoughts to get you to where you need to go. Everything comes from a thought. Now I have many different things going through my head on what I want to go with next. I was going to tell you about oneness, okay? But frequency is the thoughts that you have frequently. So make sure you're aware, present, and conscious about the thoughts that you're having, because that is going to shape your reality. Our thoughts create the world that we live in. Thoughts are not always introspective. It's not always something that we analyze. A lot of people think thoughts is just conscious thinking. We don't always have to analyze the thoughts that we have. Thoughts are of intelligence. It's of the mind. All right. Our heart is thinking while it needs to be. It's intelligence. It is thought without analyzing it, okay? So everything that you have in your world is not always a conscious thought. Everything that is you're attracting, sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's unconscious. Everything comes from a thought. So whenever you're feeling some type of way, when you're feeling sad, analyze your thoughts. Analyze the perspective that you have. And once you change your thoughts, you can change your vibration. You can change your reality. You can change your environment through your thoughts. Everything starts with a thought. If you want to change, all is mental. All is mental. And understand, a thought is not limited to your brain. The mind is not limited to the organ that we call the brain. The mind uses the brain while we're in a human body, but it's not limited. The mind is unlimited, and we are all pieces of this. And this is why I want to go into oneness, right? How Nature Boy explains oneness. And I'm going to give you this analogous because this is simple, straight to the point. As he says, a teacher is going to make things simple, straight to the point, and even a child can understand the truth. Okay? So you can have a piece of glass, right? Let me get this piece of glass. Okay, you have a piece of glass, right? And with this glass, it's a glass, right? But if you drop this and it breaks into many pieces. But is this piece separate from this piece? Is this piece different from this piece? Or is it still a glass? It's still a glass broken down into different pieces. We are one mind broken down to different pieces. So how you use your mind and how you perceive things from the light that bends in your mind may be different than mine, but it's still one mind. It's still oneness. We're all coming from the same thing. Even the plants, okay? This is coming from oneness. It's all oneness, but it's broken down into many pieces. So a bird is going to see reality or this physical plane of existence different from you because of how light bends in its mind, okay? But it's still oneness. It's still the mind. We're just using it in different ways, different levels and different forms. Oneness is so simple, but I know it's kind of hard for a lot of people to grasp, but it's okay. If you want to know truly, you will know. A lot of people don't, a lot of people really believe in what they believe in, so they don't really want to know. But if you want to know, meditate on it and it will all come to you. Okay? Maybe the way that light bends in your mind, you're not supposed to understand oneness. You might say, if we're all one, well, what makes me different from the next person? Why do I think different? And that goes into astrology and astronomy, which takes us into the stars, the moon, the sun, and the planets, and the breath that we took as we entered this realm of earth. That will lead us to the second Hermetic principle, as above, so below. The first one I've already explained, all is mental. When you say, I love myself, what I hear is, I love myself. I hear it in first party. It's only our conscious mind that interprets it separately, that falls in the illusion of separation. Our subconscious mind or unconscious mind knows no difference. It knows no separation. It knows that all is one. So anything I see in my environment or I hear from another person, we interpret it first party. We are one with that. The first Hermetic principle, all is mental, will show us that everything is interpreted from the mind itself. The second Hermetic principle, as above, so below. As within, so without. This means the things that's happening in the universe, when it comes to the stars, the moon, the planets, the sun, the air, the elements, the mind, it's all a reflection of everything that's happening below, on earth, in the physical realm, in our inner world. As within, so without. The thoughts, feelings, and expressions that you have within will show in your outer world. Your environment, when you look around, the people, places, and things that you attract, is a reflection of your inner self. Your body is a reflection of your mind. As a man thinketh, so it beeth. If you heard this, this means your thoughts bring things into reality. You are what you eat. We'll get into all that type of stuff too. But we're going to talk about astrology and how this can unlock the mechanics of your mind in a conscious way. See, without studying astrology, it is what it is. The interpretation of astrology is what we're left with. But astrology, in truth, just is. No matter if we understand it, if we consciously realize it, if we interpret it, if we see it or not. Truth is truth. So we give thanks to the outer world as we know it's a reflection of our inner world. We give thanks of the physical world as we know it's a reflection of the all. Astrology as we know it helps you to understand the mechanics of your mind, as well as events that happen in your life and in the world. When you study your astrology chart, it actually shows you about you, the energy that you possess, the way you think, the way you love, the way you express yourself, what other people's view as you, the events that happen in your life, your generational curses and angels. Yes, the tools and the interpretation that we have right now when it comes to astrology, especially in the westernized system, is very limited. So you must go within, because everything you can read about your astrology chart starts within you. It's your energy. Astrology is just going to help you to interpret it in a different way, in a more conscious way. But no matter if you know it or not, you are who you are. And though we are all things, as we are God coming into this physical form, into this physical body, we are limited. And therefore, we're limited to the energy that we possess, or the astrological program that we took on as we came into this world. Me personally, astrology helped me to understand and articulate myself and who I am and how I am and why I am. Okay? I really didn't understand it before then. I knew what it was, but I didn't know how to articulate it in a certain way. Astrology also helped me to understand energy and to understand the metaphysical. Everything physical comes from a metaphysical. Everything physical starts with energy. So when we look at the sun, we see the energy permeating. It's very strong. It is the light that shines over all of the world. Even in dark places, the sun can be found. When we hold our food, we hold the sun, as well as other elements. But the sun in your astrology chart represents your overall personality. And we're going to go in depth about astrology because this is one of the 5 sciences that Nature Boy has put together. And astrology is something that helped me so much. But I want you to know, the way that we interpret astrology today can be used against you. When you Google, what is sun in the Leo in the 11th house? Many things come up from other people's perspectives. That's why you must know how to go within to see what resonates with you. Because somebody else may perceive a sun in Leo this way. But does that resonate with you? Or is that just from their perspective? Can you come up with another perspective? So understand, everything you read, this is why we have to understand energy, but everything you read from somebody else's perspective don't mean it's truth to you. Go within, see what resonates, and let go of the rest. Our astrology charts actually show what we call angels and demons. There's certain aspects in our astrology chart that shows what we need to overcome, and it's actually a reflection of your parents' chart. Some things they may have not overcame, which are passed on to you, and for you to be able to pick up your unk and break that curse and some things that they overcame and they passed on to you that will give you strength and abilities to overcome. I also want to say that science is the observation and interpretation of nature. So when we're thinking about astrology, this is a certain person that studied the stars and the sun and the moon and certain planets, and they interpret this and align this with truth. Okay, truth just is. But as we study and observe nature, we can align our interpretation or our conscious mind with truth. So like many of us, we haven't really sat there and studied the stars, studied the sun, and interpret the energy that we observe. So it's strongly recommended that we start to do that. We start to be our own scientists. So we don't have to go off of what other people observe. We may be able to study it and go deeper. The astrology that most of us use is Western astrology, especially if you're in America. But that doesn't mean that there's many other interpretations of astrology. And in some other places, the sun and the moon and the stars, or the Mercury, Venus, and Mars, is interpreted differently. Being born in a certain month is interpreted differently. So while in Western astrology, I'm a Leo, in another astrology, I'm a Cancer. So understand, as I explain Western astrology, that there's many other astrologies, aka interpretations of the truth that as above, so below. The truth that the stars and the planets and all elements outside of us exist within inside of us. So when we look into these planets, we're actually just studying ourselves. Peace and prosperity. Honor thyself.